Hey everybody! Hey everybody! Hey everybody! Canada! Let's go, baby! Canada rules. Number 1, USA 0. And if everybody in the States wants to continue calling us the 51st state, well, we can simply call you South Canada or North Mexico, whichever one you want. But Canada rocked. But honestly, that was a fantastic game, fantastic tournament, though I do admit it was a little weird timing. I don't know why it was in the most critical part of the season. Like, I'm very worried about my Boston Bruins because most of them just sat for a whole month. So I was kind of wishing this tournament was at the end of the season, like in the off season, which would also be a weird time. But I think next year, because I think this tournament was kind of just thrown together with the whole Russia thing, with the whole just not doing Olympics anymore. I just do wish that they had a little bit more warning so that certain players could maybe get onto the team, or players that knew they weren't going to make the team could just train more or get more games. Like, if they knew they were going to take this break off and Boston not doing great going into the break, maybe they could have started to play some of the younger guys. But yes, currently Boston does sit. Where's my mouse? Does sit on the outside looking in, though they have 61 points because they lost to the Ducks in overtime. But they've only played 58 games. There's like 30 games left, which doesn't sound like that many games, but it is, honestly. And plus, all of the other teams around them are also not doing great. Like the Senators, they're on a 4-game losing streak. The Jackets and the Rangers are on a game winning streak, but they're still below Boston. With Ottawa on the 4-game losing streak, that's actually huge to keep them right there. It is creating a little separation from Tampa, but honestly, that's fine. As long as they make the playoffs, I'm still extremely happy. There's probably a lot of happy Leaf fans right now because they're in number 1, but they have been in number 1 before, and maybe this is just a biased Boston fan, but they've been in number 1 before. Boston's been in the wild card, and they got pitted up against each other, and look who came out on top. So I'm not worried as long as Boston makes the playoffs. And all people wondering, this is actually not a Boston Bruins hat. This is a Brantford Bulldogs hat. But I bought it strictly because it looks like a Boston Bruins hat. But I'm not worried about Boston. I know they will make the playoffs. And you know what? Even if they don't, I've still supported them this whole time, unlike some fans. But yeah, there's not really much to talk about. Though, on big news, Ovechkin is 13 or 14 goals away from passing the Great One. What a potential accomplishment for that man. There's 30 games left. He has 14 goals to go. He can easily get it. And a lot of people are saying, oh, he just gets a lot of empty nets. Okay, so what, man? Like, he's still 14 goals away. Nobody thought, I don't even think the Great One thought anybody was going to pass his record. And even Wayne Gretzky came out and said, I want him to pass my record, because he wants people, like, I love seeing when people pass records. I'm not a huge LeBron fan, but it was cool to see that he passed Kareem for the most points in NBA. Like, that was huge. I still think he's kind of a crybaby player. I don't know how he is as a person. He's probably a great guy. But yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought, actually, just staring at the screen. I was just looking at the Capitals record. They're 20-7 on the road and 18-4 home. Like, that's incredible. But yeah, I'm not worried about Boston potentially not making the playoffs. I know they will make the playoffs because the Red Wings, they haven't really been super reliable on staying in playoff contention. Yeah, their last 10 games have been 8-1. Ottawa's is 5-5, and they're tied. Actually, they're a point back from Ottawa. And Tampa is at 62. If Tampa goes on a losing streak, they're winning 5 games right now. So you never know. With 30 games left, I think 30, 50, 60, 70, 80, wait, 60, 70, 80, 90, 40 games left, actually. Um, with 40 games left, there's plenty of time. But the issue with Boston right now is how the Four Nations handled McAvoy's injury. He got injured, and I am not one for speculation. I'm not one for conspiracies, but the coach for Team Canada was John Cooper. Tampa Bay Lightning is the coach. And maybe he knew McAvoy was injured, maybe he's not. Maybe he didn't know. But I just get it into my head as being a fan of the rival team that he did know and he did want him to get hurt. And maybe I will get shit on for that. But I am saying this now. I have no I'm just saying this to say things. We're podcasters. We say things to get people riled up. We say things for people to agree with. We say things that may or may not be true, depending on what we say. I'm not here to call anybody a liar. I'm not here to say anything bad. But I just think that that's maybe what is what happened. Or maybe McAvoy being a hockey player, he wanted to go back out there. This is all just my word against no speculation whatsoever. But I'm not worried for Boston to make the playoffs. I know they will make the playoffs, and it'll be a great playoffs to watch. Now, for the NFL draft, because as we all know, the Eagles beat the Chiefs, and I've already talked about the Chiefs. I've already given my opinions on the Chiefs. But the order for who is going to get picked may have changed. It was supposed to be, I forget his first name, Sanders getting picked first to the Titans. Now people are saying it might be, then people were saying it might be Cam, I forget his last name, Cam. Then people are saying it might be Carter. And the Browns might then take another quarterback, and the Giants would take Hunter, which then would leave Sanders to the Patriots, which they obviously don't need. But the Patriots, and I said this before, the Patriots being in the 4th spot is actually kind of a good thing because they don't need quarterbacks. And if any one of those quarterbacks fall to them, every team knows they're going to trade down, and the Patriots are going to get as much value as they possibly can. One of 3 things the Patriots are going to do, and maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not. They're just going to stay where they are, and somebody's going to fall in their hands, like Carter. I'm hoping Carter. I don't really want Travis Hunter. I again, great player, but we don't really need. We do have a need for wide receivers, but not this high. We can get wide receivers okay, actually, I forgot that free agency happens before. If we get one of 2 things in free agency. If we get wide receivers in free agency, then we're going to draft offensive linemen. Though I think it'll be easier to get offensive linemen and then draft wide receivers. Then I would want Travis Hunter. Though I would probably still want Carter because, as we saw, the Eagles dominated the Chiefs with their defensive game. They sacked Mahomes, I think, 3 to 4 times on one sequence, which was huge. But this draft is one of the rare drafts that any player from 1 to 4 may get picked in a different order. It's been a different order every single time. So we'll see what happens for that. But what I was saying before was the Patriots picking up 4 is actually a good thing. Because obviously if they were picking 1, every team knows they're going to trade down, unless they traded Carter. But I don't know. I'd rather them pick Carter at 4. It makes a little more sense. Because the issue with every team knowing they were going to trade down is maybe they wouldn't get enough value for number 1. teams would just be like, oh, well, just you select the quarterback you obviously don't want, or select Carter, or select an offensive lineman. One of the two things that they might do is they might just stay where they are and hope that Carter falls to them, which it's hard to know now because of, again, of the Eagles game, of proving that defense wins games. They don't need a quarterback. So maybe one of the quarterbacks falls to them, and then they can trade down and draft maybe two offensive linemen, or draft a DL and a wide receiver. They do have a little bit more options at 4, but we'll see what happens. I personally think the Titans, yes, they have Will Levis, but I think they need a better quarterback. Not saying Will Levis is bad, but he is 25 and he doesn't really have competition. They don't really have many other things. It does say they need wide receiver here, but you kind of need a quarterback to throw to your wide receivers. Think of Tom Brady. He made his wide receivers the all-stars that they were. Maybe they were all-stars just for the Patriots, but they were champions for several years. So quarterback makes the team. So I think it's going to go quarterback, and that's Cam and Sanders, however it goes. Whichever way, doesn't matter. And then the Giants are a little bit of the wild card, but I do kind of hope the Giants take a quarterback. It does obviously, they say they need quarterback, but they could also take Travis Hunter here, which I'm slightly hoping they do, because the Giants do definitely need a quarterback. But the Giants being Giants, last year in a quarterback-heavy draft, they took one top wide receiver. Not saying anything bad about Neighbors, he's a great player, but you can only be as great as your quarterback is. Like, there's a limit. Your limit is as great as your quarterback. There's probably a lot of great wide receivers on the Titans, but they don't have anybody to throw the ball to. That's why they're picking first. That's why they have there's a big name on the Titans that I'm blanking on, who's a wide receiver. His cap is only as good as his quarterback. So I think it's going to go quarterback, wide receiver, because the Giants being Giants, they're going to somehow mess up that pick. If they do go DL, then I think the Patriots trade down for two offensive linemen. If they do take Travis Hunter, then I think the Patriots will take wide receiver. The only time, like I said, if the Patriots take Travis Hunter, I want their O-line to be already solid. I want them to sign a bunch of O-line. Because people are saying, oh, just get wide receiver in free agency. But that's not going to work. If I was an all-star wide receiver, let's say A.J. Brown, because I guess he's a free agency. If the Patriots contacted A.J. Brown, and maybe A.J. Brown wants to come to the Patriots, we don't know. But if I was A.J. Brown and I had the option of the Patriots, a team that has the quarterback, that has some other wide receivers on the team, that has good defense, but doesn't have a solid O-line, versus the Eagles, who just came off of winning the Super Bowl. Maybe the Eagles is a bad option, but just came off the Super Bowl. You already know the team. I'd probably just stick with the Eagles, because he knows that team. Maybe that was a bad example, but the Patriots need to fill out the O-line first. That needs to be a thing that gets fixed. Numero uno first, because that O-line fixes the quarterback, fixes the wide receiver, fixes the running back, and the fullback. And it fixes, like, kickers as well. Like, if you have a solid O-line, you can do some trick plays. And I don't know what Mike Vrabel wants to do. I don't know if he's a trick play guy. He does seem like he likes running the ball a lot. And he is a trenches first guy. So it does, at a safe opinion, it does seem like he'll either go DL or offensive line. And I know there's going to be fans who complain that they want Travis Hunter because he's a generational player and yada yada. But they said that last year about Melvin Harris Jr. They said that the year before about Caleb Williams. I guess maybe they were in the same draft. But my point is, every single year, there's always some guy who's always the generational guy, and maybe he is the generational guy. But during the Josh Allen draft, Nobody said Josh Allen was going to be the generational guy. They all said Baker Mayfield. Now, Baker Mayfield did take the Buccaneers to the second round of the playoffs, I believe. But Nobody said it was going to be Josh Allen. But obviously the Bills have been a way better team than the Buccaneers, though the Buccaneers do have a championship. So I guess you never know. But that's kind of my point. Is is players who don't get the generational tag sometimes work out better. Players who do get the generational tag sometimes don't work out, and vice versa. It's all kind of a crapshoot, anyways. But the Patriots have the quarterback. Drake May is fantastic. A lot of teams and players, sorry, a lot of players have said he's great, and I think a lot of wide receivers would want to play for him. But you need O line first. I would hate to be a star wide receiver and get open all the time, but have my quarterback not have any time to throw. There is some wide receivers in the free agency pool that could be interested, like Davante Adams, because the Jets did say they're parting ways with Rodgers, and obviously Davante Adams strictly came to the Jets fully just for Rodgers. So he might go somewhere else. He might go to the Bills. He might go to the Chiefs, who was just. He might go to the Eagles. He is 32, so he'll probably go to like one of the top teams. Maybe he does want to go to the Patriots. I would love the Patriots to have him. He is on the harder side of 32, but that's fine. He is still a good player, and he's a big body guy. I don't think A.J. Brown is going to leave. I don't think D.K. Metcalf, that's not his last name, Metcalf is going to leave Seattle. He probably should, because I don't know who the quarterback is in Seattle. I think it's Ryan Wilson, actually. But Seattle's not a great team, so maybe there's a probability that he leaves. But how huge would the offense be if the Patriots had I just said his name, Davante Adams. I forgot his name again. Jesus, I just said it. What the guy that I just said? My memory just blanked on his name. And then like two, and like Hunter Henry and like another top tight end. They'd have four solid wide receivers, and then maybe taking Travis Hunter, because in free agency they could draft or they could sign a bunch of offensive talent. They have the most money. So I think they should just throw the bag. Apparently that's what people say now, throw the bag, but it makes sense. They just throw a bunch of money at offensive talent to really shore up the trenches, because then it helps Drake May out, and he is a running quarterback. He's not as fast as Hurts or as agile maybe as the only guy I can think of is Justin Fields, but who's the I guess Hurts. There was another guy that I was thinking of. But God, his name was right there in my head. But he is a running quarterback. He has the mobility, he has the agility, and I think he's going to work out excellent in Pat's Nation. But he needs an O-line. He wasn't getting sacked all the time, but he just didn't have time to throw the ball. And people were complaining on the wide receivers, but no, it's also the O-line. They drafted wide receivers last year. That's why I don't want them to draft wide receivers this year, because they have too many. Or they're going to have too many if they draft some. But the other needs for the Patriots are actually edge and cornerback, which I guess if you draft Travis Hunter and he doesn't work out as a wide receiver, you can just toss him on cornerback. But edge, like I said, defense wins games. And that might be the biggest thing for the Patriots. If Travis Hunter is off the board, if they can't really find two offensive linemen that they like, if they trade down, I would think getting Carter. Because if you look at the Eagles' defensive line, they're big guys. They're not fast. Well, they might be fast. They're just big. And they're agile, which is two things that you don't assume when you say a big football player. But they're agile. Like Patrick Mahomes is very agile. He's one of the most agile quarterbacks. He's obviously got a great arm, but he knows how to get out of the pocket. But that's how they took him down, was because they stopped his run. Because like most quarterbacks, if they don't see the guy open and they see people rushing at them, they're going to try and leave the pocket. But when Patrick Mahomes didn't have time, he tried to leave the pocket, but he was already swarmed. He got sacked, like I said, 3 to 4 times in the Super Bowl, and they only got I think it was like 15 points at the end of the game. The score would have been like 40-3. They only made it close in the end when it really didn't matter. They were still down by 20 with like 10 seconds left of the game. But I think the Patriots will draft offensive line. I think the Giants are going to be the Giants and screw up and not draft a quarterback, though they may draft a quarterback. And the Titans may draft a DL. So I think one of two, that, like I said, one of two things is going to happen. The Patriots either trade down and draft a couple DL or draft a couple offensive line, or they stay where they are and they draft DL and offensive line. It might be better for them to just accommodate a bunch of picks and draft offensive line because they do desperately need a great offensive group. They did draft some last year. It always all depends on free agency as well. So we'll just have to see there. But yeah, we got the draft coming up. We got still 40 games left of the NHL season. Baseball season is I think just starting or close to ending. I actually kind of forget because I mainly just follow the Blue Jays and they are sucking right now. The Raptors, I also think, in the middle of their season or just started. Again, I keep forgetting because the Raptors are also sucking right now. Though the Raptors got 10 minutes left, so the Raptors actually have a good future. That huge trade for what was the guy's name? I forget the guy's name, but that was a big trade. Like they traded Siakam, they traded Lowry, they traded Van Fleet, and like they're building a young team. They probably have one of the more younger teams in the league, and I'm very curious to see what they do with that. But we'll just have to see because they obviously know what they're doing because they've made good trades, and every time I see the comments about any trade that they make, people like praise the GM. Ironically, his name is Messiah, or maybe that's how I read it. But like even fans of other teams praise their trades. They just probably need more defensive players, but maybe don't take a page out of the Mavericks because they traded for more defensive players while trading the best generational player of all time. I still remember I was just about to go to sleep. It was 12 o'clock. I turned my lights out, just looking at my phone, just completely last minute. Boom, breaking news. Luka Doncic, I don't know, gets traded to the Lakers. I'm like, whoa, like that's a huge trade. They obviously got a huge return, and then they got 1 first and Anthony Davis and some other guy. Last year, Rudy Gobert, who was 33 at the time, got traded for 4 first-round picks. Now, that may not seem like a lot. I mean, it is a lot, but in basketball, they only do the first round and the second round. So early second-round picks aren't that big. They could be not great players. Even a late first isn't that great. You're basically needing to pick in the top 10, which I don't really like. That basketball only has 2 rounds. You look at baseball, you look at hockey. They picked a 7 to 9 rounds. Sometimes, and football. Sometimes the guys in the later round can become stars. But in basketball, guys who are picked in the early second or late first don't necessarily become stars because I don't know why it's different. But yeah, we'll just have to see what happens with the Raptors. We'll have to see what happens with the Jays. We'll have to see what happens with the Bruins. It is ironic that I'm a fan of 2 Toronto fans, but I just didn't become a fan of the Leafs strictly because my uncle used to live in Perry Sound, and that's where Bobby Orr is from. And they had a Bobby Orr museum, and we went to it every time I went up there. And I think just little me was like, okay, my dad's a Leaf fan, my uncle is a Canadiens fan. I'm gonna choose the middle and become a Bruins fan, and best decision of my life. But honestly, it creates a great family rivalry, and because I got two brothers who are diehard Leafs fans, and obviously my dad. He's been a Leafs fan since he was 5 years old, which tells a tale that the last time he saw them win a cup was when he was 5, and he's 65 right now. So, but I'm not here to rag on the Leafs. But I do truly believe that Boston will make the playoffs, and if they face the Leafs, I think it's going to be an easy victory for Boston. But we'll just have to see. If they don't make the playoffs, that's hockey. I know there's going to be a lot of fans out there who are going to be like, oh, look at they were bad, they didn't make the playoffs. It doesn't, there's not really much you can do as a fan, like, unless you somehow go to the stadium and cheat for the other team. Also, speaking of hockey, we need more fans. It does seem like they have a lot of fans, and they are actually moving. The PWHL team is actually moving into the Marlies Stadium because they need more space. But we need more fans to go watch the games. I want the PWHL to survive, because women all over the world are loving watching the game. They're loving watching. They're like seeing, like, in national hockey, they're seeing females getting to play. They're seeing basically what they could be growing up to play. That's why it sucks that when I was growing up, the only chance you saw females play was in the Olympics or in a special tournament. They have hockey, but it wasn't televised like this. I've watched a game before. I don't get a lot of the games because I don't have cable. I can't even watch a lot of the Boston games because I don't have cable. I obviously stream them some place that I can find it. But also, actually, tell me a good either tell me a good stream to watch games on, or tell me a good package to watch games on, like TSN or whatever. Because I actually didn't get a chance to watch the whole Canada game. But I obviously watched the highlights after and got the updates and notifications. But kind of lost my train of thought, but I'm close to ending this anyways. But yes, please go watch the PWHL games. Just pick a team, become a fan, because they are expanding to now 10 teams. I believe they have 5 or 7, I forget. I think it's 5, because I think they have 6, because 3 and 3, because you'd obviously have to have an equal amount of teams to play against each other. And they are expanding to, I think, 10 next year. And it's just going to, I would hope that it's just going to keep expanding and keep expanding. Because I believe hockey has 20, I think maybe that's too less. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I'm gonna shut up now because I'm near the end of time. But remember, you're awesome, stay awesome, and rock on. Peace.